Hello and welcome to the Cartier Awards webinar. This is part of the exclusive series of live webinars with 2018 Cartier Awards finalists. And today we're going to explore the third how every social entrepreneur would have to know: how to take your social business to the next level. Well, my name is Anaisa and I'm part of the Cartier Women's Initiative Awards community. I'm also an impact investor, coach, and co-founder of Meraki Fund, which is a fund that invests in startups that are promoting impact, environmental impact mainly, especially those focused on agri-tech, land restoration, and sustainable food production. And well, at Meraki, besides providing capital, we also support those entrepreneurs to scale their businesses and access new markets and grow internationally. And today, I'm here to moderate the conversation, and the idea is to offer concrete advice to aspiring social entrepreneurs on how to scale their businesses. Of course, using the experience of the 4 finalists we have here today. So I'm gonna ask the 4 finalists to introduce themselves and also just start the conversation by telling us what is the one thing that you learned from growing your business. So Audrey, would you like to start?
Sure, sounds good. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Audrey. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Moringa School, which is based in Nairobi, Kenya. And so Moringa School is a multidisciplinary learning accelerator committed to providing young Africans with digital and professional skills training. So through our experienced teachers and mentors and a blended learning model, Moringa is able to achieve our mission to transform higher education throughout Africa and to enable our graduates to be globally competitive with their peers. And so we currently have a 95% job placement rate for our graduates in Africa and also beyond. And outside of Kenya, Moringa has offered our curriculum in other regions, including Pakistan, with partnerships with the World Bank and the Pakistani government, in Hong Kong, and also in Ghana with various partners. And so this year in 2018, our aim is to scale beyond Kenya into other courses and also other geographies. And so one thing I learned from growing Moringa School was the importance of focus and doing one thing very well before scaling beyond our core offering.
My name is Noha Khater. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Almouneer. Almouneer is the first specialized diabetic eye care service here in Egypt and the Middle East. Our vision is to try to prevent blindness from diabetes. There are about 10 million diabetics here in Egypt and 45 million in the region, and about 1/3 of those can lose their vision due to complications of diabetes on the eye. So our service is a network of fully digital eye clinics and that address, do checkups, do specialized investigations and treatment for our diabetic patients, aiming to prevent blindness from diabetes. The thing that growing the business is the value of human relationships. So I've learned a lot from the people that I work with, the people I'm with, and every person that I interact with in my business has added great value to me. And that's one of the main values of, or main lessons learned from growing the business.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Sara Saeed. I'm based out of Karachi, Pakistan. My company's name that I co-founded and now run is Sehat Kahani, which is Urdu for story of health. And what we do is we create we have an all-female provider network that provides access to patients in healthcare need, efficiency, and quality. Pakistan has a huge problem of female doctors not working after marriage due to cultural constraints. And again, half of the Pakistan does not get access to healthcare. So what we're trying to accommodate these home-based female doctors back into the workforce and connect them to patients in need using technology, which is of telemedicine. The one thing that I've learned from going by business is to have a team that believes in the mission and vision. I have a co-founder that's extremely dedicated. She's a mother like me. We have 4 years old, and it's only the support that we have of each other that we've been able to grow the business till this point. So having a dedicated team and instilling that vision and vision in them is very important.
My name is Siroun Shamigian, and I'm based in Beirut, Lebanon. I am the co-founder and executive director of Kamkalima, which means a few words in Arabic. I'm a teacher by profession. I have taught for more than 20 years. And I was an education technologist also. So when I noticed that there's a big gap in Arabic EdTech, we decided with our Arabic colleagues to fill that gap ourselves. So what Kamkalima does is it builds, it's an education technology platform that builds communication skills of students from grades 4 to 12. We do that by providing both content and software tools to teachers and students and school admin. One thing I have learned by growing my business is not to say no to good opportunities. So I used to, before I used to be scared when I felt it's a good opportunity and I didn't know exactly every single step I'm going to take till the end, I said no. But that was not possible growing the business. So now when there's a good opportunity, I say yes and worry about how I'm going to do it afterwards.
Thank you for the introductions, ladies. I have a question to Audrey, actually. When we talk about scaling a social enterprise, what exactly we are scaling? So my question to you is, do you scale the impact you want to achieve, or you scale the size of your organization?
I think there's always this tension between like scaling impact versus scaling revenue, and I think a lot of it depends on the kind of investors that we have on board, the kind of partners, and also at the end of the day, like what values that we have as an organization. For me personally, I come from more of a capitalistic background, so working in venture capital actually before starting Moringa School. And I've always believed that if we can build an actual company first, so really focusing on revenues, really focusing on building the business, and really streamlining everything we need, that then kind of in turn, we're able to really scale impact. So the focus for us has always been, how do we actually build a sustainable, strong business instead of getting distracted by like grants and other, other opportunities that might actually pull away our focus.
Okay, I have another question, and now it's to Siroun, that is related to growing a social enterprise in comparison to a regular startup. So what is different, or should it be harder to grow a social enterprise?
I agree with what Audrey said. And that was a big question for us when we first started. So, but to answer this specific question, in our experience, my co-founder and I, with our team, it was very difficult for us to find funding, investment, because most VCs, especially in our region, focused on financial return on their investment. And when you're growing a social enterprise, you're not only worried about the financials, you also are worried about the impact. So in our case, it's education. How do we train the teachers? How do we have them use technology, etc.? So it was very difficult for us to raise capital initially because most VCs in our region are focused on the financial return, and social impact comes next. Thank you.
I would like to just second what Siroun said. So basically in Pakistan, the entrepreneurial scene is very, very nascent. It's only 5 years before that we got into the startup ecosystem. And we don't have that product of VCs or angel investors investing us. Now you keep that equation in a social impact startup, and that also a woman-led social impact startup, the situation changes very drastically. So I think one thing that confuses people a lot in Pakistan still and in the MENA region is, are we an NGO or are we a social enterprise? And to explain that difference has been very difficult. People do not understand why we make money of a social enterprise, and people in the NGO sector actually blame us for taking money from patients, saying that we should not be taking money of patients as we're doing social work. So it's a complicated thing, but I think you need to set yourself in a way. For example, it took me 2 years to say that with confidence, that we are a business for social good. We are not a social business or an NGO. And you have to affirm it again and again with people, have a business model that backs you up, have a growth and numbers potential that people can understand. And if all this is working for you and it's how you pitch it to investors or your partners, then I think people do really understand the business model and the business structure, even if it's for a social good.
I can add on my perspective as an investor as well. I think scaling a social enterprise is twice harder than a regular startup. And many people think that because we are investing for impact, we are focusing in the impact only, but we also focus on the financial returns. So when we are working with this startup, we are looking at double metrics. So not only the finance, but also impact, and you cannot give up on any of those. So it's really challenging to work in this interconnection between both impact and financial returns. I know that not only for the entrepreneurs, but also for the impact investors is a double challenge, but this is why we are here for that. And we like this type of challenges. And I agree with you. We cannot think that a social enterprise is an NGO, and we shouldn't sacrifice financial returns for impact that easy. Of course, both have importance to have a sustainable business. And I would like to move to another question, talking more about strategies and how we can actually implement this this growth. So my question is, is there any example of a successful strategy that you have applied in order to grow your business? I think that stories and real examples could help a lot our audience. Maybe Noha, would you like to pick this one?
So basically, one of the most successful strategies that I've acquired while growing my business is when I first started with my partner, Rania, who's an IT specialist and network consultant, we were determined on doing everything ourselves together, you know. So we'd like get involved in everything and waste double the time and double the effort. And then we realized at some point of time that we can't grow this way. So we started delegation. So now we depend on the people. We grow like teams, and each team is responsible for growing their own department. So delegation is very important when you come to growing your business. Dividing your business into teams and supporting them so they're independent and you don't micromanage them. So that's one of the very important things. The other thing is, which is very valuable, is also to invest in talent. So hiring the proper talent and working with talented and amazing people inspires me. It supports me all the time. It gives me brilliant ideas and introducing new concepts. So all that helps you grow your business and in a very, very good way.
Maybe Sara would have a good example as well to share.
Sure. I think that when we started Sehat Kahani, we were creating clinics in low-income communities and connecting patients to doctors via an intermediary. That was one vertical of our business. And though it had a huge impact, the financial returns on that model were low because it was from a community whose payability power was very low. Now, in order to create strength in the company financially, we then moved on creating verticals which do not only have impact, but also financial returns. So we discovered 2 new verticals within the business by which we can make money as well as create more impact. So now Sehat Kahani is the only provider in Pakistan that works with third-party corporates and pharmaceuticals, providing health education and communication in low-income communities. So we saw a gap that corporates and pharmaceuticals have health messaging to do, but they don't know the tricks and tips of doing it in communities. And we knew that because of our practice of the last 2 years. And this not only makes us good revenues, which is help to cross-subsidize the clinics. We recently thought that if we have a network of so many female doctors, why don't we use them commercially as well for people like you and me giving telehealth services? So we launched this via B2B port, again for corporates and companies who require telehealth services for their employees, and we already have a contract going with a leading corporate. So I think for me and for my company, what worked is creating verticals across business that can help cross-subsidize the social impact vertical. And this helped us get away from grant funding and other sources of funding and actually raise investment for ourselves, as well as to grow the company's revenue and become cash flow positive.
I think Sara touched in a very challenging point of scaling a business, that is like how to finance your business. And we know that it requires a lot of working capital to do so. And this comes back to the topic that we have to take care of the finance to be sustainably financially sustainable, but also not give up the impact. So maybe I'd like to ask Noha to bring your perspective on that, and also tell us more a bit on how did you finance your growth? What strategies did you use in a finance perspective?
When we first started, it was self-financed. So basically, we paid everything off our pockets and our revenues. We were managed to finance the equipment that we had to start our first service by self-finance, basically the revenues generated out of our service. It was quite stressful for the first year, and then when we thought of the expansion, it wasn't feasible to just continue to self-finance, especially that we had ambitious plans. So we thought of acquiring a bank loan. And we applied indeed for a bank loan, and then at the time we were about to sign off the bank loan, and the interest rates here in Egypt are quite high. We were hit by devaluation, and I'm sure if you heard about it, but overnight in November 2016, the Egyptian pound lost 2/3 of its value in just one night. And all of a sudden, the equipment that we wanted to buy were 3 times the price. But like Siroun said, we always grab opportunities. So an opportunity was passing just right in front of me, and there was this subsidized bank loan for small enterprises that are powered by women entrepreneurs coming by with a very subsidized, interesting bank rate and very, very relaxed payment terms, and we just grabbed it. And we decided, you know what, we're not just doing one expansion, we're doubling the expansion. So we ended up with twice the plans of expansion in the same year, and we've actually been very blessed because we are a social enterprise and we're women entrepreneurs, so it worked fantastic for us.
I guess when we started the business, I think one thing that we faced a challenge with was that once you have a business model in mind, you always want to go with that business model, and the idea of pivoting from that business model seems very alien. So what we learned in the way is pivoting the business model again and again as it makes sense. But also when you're a social enterprise, when you're growing in a country like Pakistan, there are very limited funding opportunities. So I think one thing that really helped us in the beginning were grants and competitions that help startups and new entrepreneurs to come in. And that for like 1 year held the company strong, because you need to finance your head office expenses, your overheads from somewhere until you become strong enough to create a revenue. And I've seen, at least in my business, that once you have that strong base where you have people working, you can give salaries, you can give incentives to people, you're able to hire a team that works together, then the investment opportunities come in. And people do believe in your model then when you're able to show them that you're making revenue and you have a strong team. But in order to do that, you need, if you're not self-financing it yourself, then grants are a good opportunity to move forward.
I think it's pretty much very similar to many other social entrepreneurs, many challenges that they're facing. And I think in this part, like, partnerships are crucial to make the thing happen. So how do you think the partners did you have contributed to scaling the businesses, and who are the strategic partners that you had in order to do so?
The main support, of course, is the actual partner I have, the co-founder in my business, who's Rania. She's my best friend and my partner at the same time. We had great chemistry since we started. On a business level, globally, we are Endeavor entrepreneurs. So Endeavor has been very supportive and has provided us with a lot of mentorship, coaching, networking opportunities. And actually, we got to know about the Cartier Awards through Endeavor. So that's one fantastic partnership. We also are partners with the European EBRD, gave us grants for our marketing and branding, for financial structuring. So also another fantastic partner. We're partnered locally with other doctors and other insurance companies that help us grow. They share our vision and help us grow our business. So partnership has always been an add-on and a great opportunity for us.
When we were starting our business, I think the first partnership that was very important was family. So believing in something as crazy as doing telemedicine via home-based doctors, I think family and friends were the first partners who actually believed that this can happen and change a great deal. Also, other social entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. They were the first, the early adopters of the idea as well. But I think after that, I really give it to two accelerators that we are part of. One was I2I, that's a Pakistan-based accelerator, and then Spring. That's an international accelerator that has taught whatever, at least I know today. For a doctor to know financial sense, business sense is very difficult. And we've learned everything on the ground. I think other partners that we had was international funding agencies. They helped a lot. And the corporate partners who actually took a bet on a young company like ours, only because we did our work right. So we did a very, very small campaign of like $4,000 with GSK once, and they came back to us with bigger projects, just accepting our credibility. So I think corporates in Pakistan, they even through economy, they have a bigger say, but they're the one who took a challenge also on us all the time. So I would really want to appreciate their role in growing our business and letting us experiment new things with them.
I would like to add a few points. So partnerships have been evolving just like our business. Like Noha said, my co-founder, also my best friend and colleague for more than 15 years, Nisreen, we had a great partnership. But we started by having a lot of Arabic teachers as our partners because they shared our vision. And since both my co-founder and myself are not Arabic language experts, we're teachers, we had to rely on that partnership and their volunteering their time to make Kamkalima become what it is. And as we grew from the regular partners of startup accelerators and investors, what happened is once we had to, for example, go to a new market and we couldn't physically be there, even though we can, but it made much more sense for us to have a partnership with a local partner in, for example, Jordan market, to be able to distribute Kamkalima in Jordan. So that type of partnership has been scaling our growth in other markets. Apart from that, only relying on our content providers. So for example, we give lesson plans on the platform that are editable. So we have to prepare questions. We used to prepare them everything ourselves. But as we grew, we noticed it's much better to outsource these things and have content providers do it for us while we focus on other parts of the business.
Yeah, I was listening to your answer, and I was wondering here that sometimes people think, oh my God, now it's time to scale. So let's do the business plan, let's have this strategy and let's implement it. And it's not like that. You build on the go. And of course, we cannot avoid mistakes and regrets. And sometimes we got lucky. And so it's not, because it's not everything under our control, of course. So I'd like to ask you, and maybe Audrey could answer this one, and what you've done differently if you had the chance to do it again. And I think that's quite good reflection to support other social entrepreneurs, because we learn also from others' experiences.
Honestly, it feels like every single day I learn new things that I should have done differently. So yeah, so where to start? Yeah, so actually, I mean, I think with Moringa School, like we've, I think we've been able to achieve quite a bit in the last couple of years. But I think there's a ton that I wish I had done differently. And so I think one thing that I'm learning for whatever my next venture will be is to really take my time when hiring the team. And so there was a period where we were really we were like scaling up pretty quickly. So we went from a team of, oh gosh, it was like 20 to around like 40 this year. And so it was in 2016 when we were scaling it very quickly. And we hired people too quickly without having the right like HR processes in place. And so it was just very challenging, things like not having like pay grades and different kind of HR processes that much larger companies have. We like started investing in, but almost a little bit too late. And so, really investing in some of these like HR processes and like finance processes a lot earlier. So that's definitely one thing. The other thing is, I know this sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but actually like being patient with myself. And so something I've noticed among like other entrepreneurs as well is also, like just a constant like rush against time, right? There's always like, 1,000 things to do and just like always kind of pushing ourselves like to the next, like to our limits. But then I think just really spending time taking care of ourselves and also like in turn taking care of the team is extremely important. So I think it's very easy to burn out in these quickly growing companies. But if we can't retain our people, then I think that the costs for that are much higher than really just investing in them in the first place. And I guess the last one I would say is, so actually getting an executive coach a lot earlier. So I started working with my executive coach early last year, and she's like really fantastic. And I think it's really helped to shift a lot of the ways I think about my work, like emotionally, but also like strategically. And it's been really helpful to have someone outside of the organization work with me more. And I'm seeing friends who have just started their organizations who are already working with an executive coach and how far that's taking them.
The thing I would have like done differently basically is would have believed in the goodness and the greatness of what we're doing. So would have invested in a bigger space. So basically we started in my original clinic, which was quite a small space. And we didn't see the fact that we're going to grow so fast and we need a bigger space. So right now I'm sitting in an office that's like 2 by 2 or 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters. And I have like 5 or 6 of my amazing team around me. And they were all crammed on top of each other. Yesterday we had a meeting, we had like 6 people in the room. And I was like, oh my God, I should have got a bigger place, you know? So that's the thing, you know, you think of yourself big and you plan for the future and don't see you're going to stay the same size you are right now. So you're going to grow and you're going to grow very fast. So like, look ahead a bit, look ahead. That's the thing I would have done differently. Got a bigger place probably.
Very, very honestly, if I have to answer this, I would say I would start pre-marriage. It's very difficult to have a company and to have children and to have another child, or you know, who's 28 years old already to handle. And there's always a work-life balance issue. So I would have started much earlier in my life. I think children today, or the millennials today in the next generation, have an opportunity and they're more exposed to start much earlier. I started when I was 27, 28, which is still late. The other thing I would do is I would surround myself with more mentors, and more experts of the industry that know what's good and what's bad, and take their advice much more. Siroun, and take the advice much more, and make sure that, you know, I have the right people around me who guide me and who are my partners.
I'm thinking what more I can add. Started earlier, I don't think so, because I felt like I needed some experience in education technology before I jumped ahead. But I was not expecting, like Noha said, I really was not expecting to grow this fast. So if I had to restart, I would put processes earlier. So for example, currently we're putting our sales process and it's not done yet. So I have around 60 leads waiting for us to get back to them. So it's a bit overwhelming. So that's one advice I give others who are starting business, that put processes in place before you actually start, because then it becomes really overwhelming. So
yeah, I agree. I think scaling is all about balancing growing demand and building strength on your supply side and your operations as well. You have to grow a little bit of each side together. And I'd like to tackle later on what are the strategies that you use to grow your market, your demand, what are the strategies you use to grow sales? And also we can talk about what are the strategies you use to build a strong operation. But let's focus first on sales. So I'd like to know, when did you feel that, oh my God, now it's gonna happen, and it was more like a market, the market was pulling it, or did you push, or you were like acting strongly to advertise and market your product, your service in order to grow? How was the strategy that you used to scale demand?
One lesson I've learned from one of the big pharmaceutical companies is first to identify what your market needs. And if you see a market need and not necessarily the market doesn't really identify it, you can help them identify it. So basically in our field of work, it was by raising awareness. So not all people knew that diabetes can affect the eye and can make people go blind or lose their vision. So one of the things that we really invested in knowing and letting people know that, you know what, if you have diabetes, you have to have your eyes checked, because diabetes can affect the eye. So this is one of the things we introduced the knowledge into the market about the effects of diabetes on the eye. Other thing is differentiating ourselves. So if we're differentiated and we let the market know that there is this kind of service that addresses the need or demand, like because diabetics are chronic patients and they will constantly need doctor's visits and they have their data on them all the time, which is not necessarily what's available in a very traditional and basic healthcare market in Egypt, the fact that we're fully digital and we have a very strong data warehouse also help differentiate us. So identifying the need and addressing this need and making sure that you're very obvious in the services that you provide. We're very keen on partnerships because basically all the internships, the internal medicine doctors, they channel their patients to us. We're social media, advertising, making sure that we're the only people providing that kind of service when you understand the type of service that you need.
If I had to talk about sales, my line of work is very different. So the clinics that we make in low-income communities, there is no social media marketing. People don't use cell phones. People don't have access to cell phones as well. They're still using those feature phones that many of us don't have today. So we had to reach out to a community which was not that literate, not that health aware, using their own strengths within the community. So when we were making clinics, we realized the importance of having a female mobilizer. So what we do is we hire lady health workers or polio workers, which is unfortunately Pakistan still has polio, and we train them to go door to door and do awareness sessions with females. We collect all the females in our clinic, and we do what we call the Mohalla meeting. So that's the neighborhood meeting. So all the women come together, they have a cup of tea, and then we tell them about what Sehat Kahani does. And this is all done in an environment in their community. And though it takes us a lot of cost to do that for them, it really has an impact because somewhere someone from their own community is connecting with them and listening to their problems and finding a solution for them. Similarly, running cable ads, again in communities, has really helped us because that is what people do when they don't have a lot of entertainment, they watch TV. So I think finding alternative means of marketing and communication when the normal methods don't work is something that's really worked for us. A new thing that we're exploring now is Pakistan has a concept of rickshaws. They're small automobiles that are used to make people travel from one place to another, and we are branding the clinics at the back of those rickshaws. So I think that's going to be one more thing that we're going to experiment with this year.
It really sounds like everyone's sort of talking a lot about just, listening to our customers, really, really deeply understanding them and not just kind of profiling them as like this, 18 to 25-year-old, and then that's it. So yeah, so I guess on a similar front with Moringa School, we understood that the power of word of mouth in Kenya is super, super high. So if we try to do TV ads, if we try to do the more traditional advertising, a lot of people would not quite trust our brand. It was really unfortunate when we started Moringa School when there was an aviation college in Nairobi that was actually selling fake certificates and diplomas. So a lot of parents actually did not trust new institutions. And so we knew that we had to be really careful in approaching this market. And so what we ended up doing is we had influencers essentially speak on our behalf. So we had, with our digital campaigns and our outreach strategies, we brought existing kind of thought leaders in the space who we brought on board. They were excited about Moringa School to actually, talk about the work that we're doing and talking about how important it is for young people to come through our classes. And also I think the last thing for us was that just having the patience and also understanding that it just takes time. So our first class was 4 students, and our class sizes are around 75 to 100. But that's taken us, 3 to 4 years. And if we had tried to rush that process, I just don't think the quality of students and also just everything would have been in place to really support this, this population.
And these are some of the challenges we are facing. So number one is creating high efficient teams at minimum cost. All startups are, cash starved at one point, but you want to grow fast, you want to scale, so you want, more team members. So that's one challenge we are facing. Another one is keeping everyone motivated while growing. So in a startup, motivation is very, very high. But keeping that motivation high, it has been proven to be a challenge, especially when tasks become very, very stressful. Also, one key area that we're trying to work on right now is monitoring performance. So we want to stay a startup, like the culture of a startup, not become a corporation, but we want to become a fully functioning business with a startup culture. So that has been extremely difficult because we do want to monitor performance and make sure that everyone is giving their best, and award people who are giving their best, and try to help those who are not. but that has been a challenge, especially with the amount of scaling and new customers we have been getting. So for me personally, my biggest challenge has been to delegate. It's been extremely difficult for me to delegate specific tasks that I enjoy doing to other people. It's like I'm giving up a baby or something. But I'm forcing myself to do that, and it has helped me release my time to focus more on business development.
So we're going from a team this year of around 40 to probably around 70 by end of the year. And so really thinking about like what does that mean to actually like ensure that, you know, some of our early employees are still feeling really excited, rewarded, and also just you know, motivated to continue at the organization. But also scaling culture of like actually defining what culture means, like what culture do we need now versus when we're, you know, a company that's much larger size, right? And understanding, you know, what kind of people we need. Do we need generalists, specialists? Do we need a mix? Again, you know, yeah, there's a bunch of different nuances there also within hiring. So that's definitely very similarly one of our challenges now. Another one of our challenges is around just managing expectations among team members. So with both, like, you know, our frontline employees versus our executive team versus our partners, you know, all across Kenya as well. So really thinking about how do we like manage their expectations for where we are now, what else we can do to serve them, but also like what they should expect from us too. And then the last one from us is it just keeps going back to hiring. I'm starting to realize that more and more of my time is spent on like just recruiting really awesome people. And so one of our challenges there is actually understanding like hiring what we need now versus what we need in a year, right? Because I think the whole hiring process just takes a very long time, especially finding really fantastic talent. And so just thinking about, well, you know, like the executive team and the frontline and the mid-management that we currently have now, you know, like are we focused on growing these people? Like, do we think that they can grow into like X role that, you know, that will open up in a year's time? Or do we need to start sourcing? And I think that's been a really kind of challenging question that we've had internally, because we you know, as a school, we definitely want to be growing our team. But at the same time, if the pace of growth that the company is experiencing is beyond the current capacity of the team, like how do we balance that? And so again, a lot of my time is just thinking about like organizational change and culture and things like that.
So I think our company is in a very nice and interesting stage where we're scaling finally, and we're finding new people. So I think my organizational challenges are very similar to as Audrey's or Siroun's, which is fascinating to see, and there's lots to talk about when we meet. But I think when you have a founding team, I had a founding team of 7 people, and now we suddenly have a lot of people in the team. And to instill the same vision, mission as you did in your founding team, you can't spend more time with them, you can't interact with them as much, you have so much to do, that you find that connection with the new team members just seem to be missing, and you have to work a lot on that, you don't have the time. So I think creating that right team mix that grows the organization and treats it as their own is one challenge. The second is we've recently raised our first round of investment, and suddenly we have a lot of opportunities coming in from all directions of raising more rounds. So just finding that acceptability of saying no to these new partners at the moment and stopping ourselves from raising more funding and focusing on operations is another challenge that we're going through. The third one is that as your company, as the business is expanding, we're getting more partners, we're getting more collaborations going on. To give ample amount of time to each partnership and really nurture it to a point that they become these successful collaborations is something that we're struggling with, because time management becomes an issue where there are 2 females who have families. So for that, we need right amount of people. And those people need to know what we're doing. So I think the whole dynamics of scaling up is a big challenge that we're facing now.
So I'd like to make a final question to you that is like a final thought on all this webinar. That is, what would be the advice you would give to a social entrepreneur or someone who is starting their business now, specifically in terms of scaling and growing their businesses?
There are lots of things we can share, but on a personal note, one thing I would like to say is don't be harsh on yourselves, especially this is for women entrepreneurs, because we tend to do that more often than not. So to start a business or scale a business, it's important that we're not harsh on ourselves. We do the best we can, and then you know, sometimes it's not going to work. So not putting ourselves down or being harsh on ourselves, it's one of the things that that I'm still trying to learn and would like to share with anyone who's listening.
One thing I wanted to add about the challenges when growing your business is to prioritize. So we're all like entrepreneurs, we're always met with opportunities, and a lot of people want to meet us, discuss new ideas, and we're sometimes scattered. We want to do so many things at the same time. So at a certain point of time, I was like scattered. I wanted to meet a lot of people, get new ideas and stuff like that. And it was very, very hard. And I ended up losing focus on my main business and my main point. So learn when to say no. So sometimes you have people who want to talk to you, want to meet you, just, I end up like stretching myself very thin and trying to please everyone and trying to talk to everyone. And that was like very stressful and very demanding. It took time off my personal time, my family's time, my children's time. So you have to learn when to say no and to stop. Other thing is also to surround yourself with people with positive energy. So some people, they can get the positive energy out of you and drag you into negative thoughts. It's like, even if you have a setback, turn it into a positive thing. Like I said, when we had the devaluation, all of our friends were like shutting down businesses, planning to leave Egypt and stuff like that. We actually turned it into a positive thing. So because basically I was sitting with another positive friend who told me about a positive scenario. So this is, when you surround yourself with positive people, it always works well for you. Final thought for women entrepreneurs is, whatever your business idea is, try to surround yourself with friends and family that you love. Make it enjoyable. Incorporate your kids in your business. I mean, sometimes I share my thoughts with my children, tell them about what we're doing. They're very excited about Cartier, and then like whenever I'm on TV, because of course of all the Cartier coverage, I'm sometimes on national TV, and they bring all their friends over and they watch me. Look at mommy, she's on TV and she's talking, and mommy, I like that. So it's turn it into something exciting. It's a very exciting and adventurous journey.
Wow, that's really amazing. Can't wait till I have children. I guess for me, it's just like some like parting thoughts. So I guess like one big thing is just like, again, I think everyone sort of echoed this, is really taking care of your mental health and really understanding your energy levels and when to take a step back. So I think it's easy to kind of just keep pushing through and until we really feel like we are completely burnt out. And I've gotten to that place a couple of times where I'm finally at this place where I'm like, I will not do that ever again to myself, especially if this is going to be a long-term marathon. So just taking time out to really take care of ourselves. I think, again, nurturing the relationships in our lives, and then also understanding that we don't need to be great at everything, because no one in the world is like amazing at everything, right? So in that case, just focusing on our strengths, but also focusing on what we love to do. Right, so not trying to wear too many hats, but just passing up hats and really hiring people that are better than ourselves.
Wow, I think I'll just echo whatever everything is saying, because we do think very similar, as do all social entrepreneurs. But I think finding the right kind of team. So if I am here today, it's because of two other women who've really helped me. One is my co-founders, one is my operations director, who've been there with me since the start of the journey, fighting every battle together. So I think it's surrounding yourself with amazing people who can help you show the brightest of all opportunities in the worst times. I think another thing that I would advise to new entrepreneurs is be confident in your skin. If you want to say something, just say it. Don't hold back. Even if you say something wrong, you can go back and just correct yourself, but have the courage and the confidence to say whatever is in your heart. Speak up, and if others are doing wrong, just tell them that they are, and if you think you're right, just say it. One more thing is, I think I'll just echo what others have said, that learn to say no at the right time. If it's something you can't do, if it's something you can't make happen, just say no and get done with it, because expectations really matter in business. And if you can't manage it, just go ahead and say that I'm sorry, I can't do it, I'll come back later. But it's always going to help you grow in the right direction.
Yes, that's been great. And thank you for your thoughts on this. And I've learned a lot with you. And my add to that is that we can actually, timing is everything when you're growing your business, because it is not under your control. You have to pay attention to the market trends as well, and to be ready when it comes. And I think in this webinar, we covered both strategies and challenges to grow a social startup. And then I think it's great to know strategies, not only to sell your business, to promote your product and your service, but also how to structure finance and capital in order to grow. Also, partnerships that are very important because you don't do it alone. In terms of challenges, we've covered challenges of being a woman entrepreneur, challenges of growing a business that is aiming for impact, not only for financial sustainability, and challenges to build a strong team, strong operations to sustain it. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and please feel free to give your comment on this. And with that, I'm closing this webinar, and thank you a lot for being with us.